Just your average everyday trucker, keeping it real. I'm your host, Chris Blodgett, and you're listening to Real Talk Tuesday. Today's topic is going to be trucking and the negative things that go along with it when it comes to relationships, including spouses that might not, be completely faithful at home. This is episode 118. Hey guys, welcome back, and I hope you guys had a good week. Appreciate you guys tuning in with me again. Like I told you guys before, it's kind of an unusual thing for me. Like usually when I do an episode, usually I do not know at that point exactly like what I'm going to talk about the following week. But when I did the previous episode, I already had an idea. Like literally, I was gonna do that episode, and I thought about it while I was, when I was at Knoxville, dropping that last loaded trailer and picking up an empty to go with my other empty, and I kind of had like literally, I had like right off the bat before I even did that recording, I had two ideas, two topics in mind, and it was like, So I was like, you know what? So like, at the time of this recording, literally I just did the previous episode and then went ahead and like finished that one. And before I could do the next one, my wife was calling. So it was like, I hadn't gotten around to her because she had messaged me or tried to reach out when she got up, and I had messaged her back, but I hadn't really responded much because, of course, kind of busy. So then before I could get the other one recorded, or before starting the next one, she was calling me, whatever. Like I'm just trying to, because then at that point I pulled over because I had a bunch of warning lights come up on the dash and to pull over and park. Because one of those where like you get some electrical issues in the trucks, some of these newer trucks. So it's one of those funny things. Sometimes you got to pull over and shut it down, give it a couple minutes, and then turn it back on, and usually you're good. Like all the check engine lights and all the warning lights will be off. Because whenever that happens to this truck, it literally bogs down. Like I get all these warning lights, and then it stops accelerating. Like I can still accelerate a little bit, but it won't be like I'll lose speed. And it'll literally, if I don't pull over, I'm gonna end up in the traffic lane stalled. And so I have to literally get off of the shoulder as quick as I can, set the brakes, shut it down, give it a couple minutes, fire it back up, and I'm good. So when she called, she was like, yeah, I was wondering if you're okay because like you weren't really saying much. Like you had like usually respond a little quicker, but you didn't respond. And you or say anything. I was like, sorry, I'm literally just getting back on the road now because I had to pull over on the shoulder. I had a bunch of warning lights. She's like, oh, is everything okay? I'm like, yeah, everything should be fine. I was like, it just has this issue with the truck every so often. Then I gotta pull over, shut it off, give it a couple minutes, and then I'll fire it back up, and things will be pretty much back to normal. Whatever. She was happy to let Jimmy know, and I'm like, not the current issue. You know, I said I've had electrical stuff happen before, and I told Jimmy about my boss, pretty much. You know, and basically I'm told, go ahead, shut it down, shut the truck off, turn it back on. So I'm like, okay. And usually that works. You know, I haven't had it where something like that's happened and I shut it off, turn it back on, and I still have an issue. Then I basically be like, I gotta send a tow truck for me because it's not wanting to, because it's literally still got the warning lights, still broken down. Thankfully that hasn't happened yet. Knock on wood. I don't have any wood around here. But anyway, so yeah, you know, the topic for this week basically is kind of inspired by the fact that I've read a lot of things, you know, different posts, stories that other truckers have written that are true or whatever, based on true events or whatever. And basically, you hear about truckers talking about their wives cheating on them at home, you know, while they're gone. You know, because it's like with me, when my wife said I didn't sign on for this, I didn't sign on to be home alone. I'm like, yeah, well, I didn't sign on for that either. Like, you know, I didn't. It wasn't that I wanted to be away from the fam, but I know for me, when like I was working security, this is like one of those like, you know, kind of a negative shout out to a certain security company, Securitas. I mean, I love working for them, but there's a branch up in, I believe Des Moines. I think it's Des Moines. I'm not sure. There's a branch up in Iowa that's like about 60 or so. Yeah, I think it's Des Moines. It's about an hour and a half away from Clinton, Iowa, where I lived. And there's a branch manager there that like was or a HR manager. When I got hired there, everybody that was like the HR people, you know, and then I, you know, started working at the hospital that they put me at. Everybody at that Securitas office, you know, because I, you know, at one point it was me and one guard that were working, splitting the shifts. Like it was 12-hour shifts. I would work 1 week. I would work 3 days. He would work 4 and get overtime. And then the next week we'd switch. He'd work 3. I'd work 4. It was cool, you know, because 1 week you get your check plus you get overtime, you know, for like 8 hours of like $18 an hour, because I think I was making 12 at the time. So 1 week you'd make a really good, like a little better check, you know, because I think so you figure an extra 18, that's rounded up to 20 just to make it easier math-wise. So you figure another 8 hours at $20 an hour, extra $160 in your check. You know, so that was pretty nice. But then, like, after a while, that guard quit. Like, and I say quit, but that's kind of, I'm using that term lightly. He basically, because he had child support, and so like half his check was going to child support or whatever. And so like at one point, he just literally just never shut back up. He just disappeared. And so I ended up working every day for about 2.5 months. With like maybe a day off here, a day off there, because they would send another guard from another location to cover a shift or two. So I would have a day or two off to actually have a break, wash clothes, actually be able to enjoy time with the fam, you know. But for like 2.5, 3 months, that was pretty much my life. Even though I loved the paychecks, I was making like killer. You know, you're talking like 7 days a week, working 12-hour days. So I was getting paid. You figure, so what, 7 days, 12-hour shifts, 60, 70, 72, 84, I think. If my math's not, 7 days a week, 84 hours. So you figure you're making at least 42 hours of overtime. So 42 hours times, let's say, we're getting rounded up, we'll say $20 an hour instead of 18. And let's say 40 hours overtime instead of 42. So it's 40 hours overtime times 20. You're talking another 800, extra $800 per week. So like on top of what I was normally making, which is like 400, you know, after taxes and stuff, I was taking home about a little over $400 a week. So I was making about $1,200. I was making pretty good money for about those 3 months. It was like $1,200, $1,300 paychecks because I was working 80+ hours. You know, so was enjoying it. You know, financially we were doing pretty well, but I was tired as hell. But I think it had one of those moments where my mind just blinked. I'm going, all right, where would I go with that? But okay. Well, like I said, a little shout out to that negative shout out to that company, because when I was doing those hours, like the HR people, like the managers, my bosses, whatever, they all loved me. They're like, we're so appreciative of you because like you literally, you know, been working almost every day for the past 3 months. We're sorry, we're working on getting coverage over there so we can start having the other shifts covered, so you can actually have a normal, you can have some days off each week, and that'll be great. I appreciate that, thank you. And but then you know, some stuff happened, and like they got a new HR person, and I had a situation where I gave one of the doctors, because apparently you guys might not know this, but apparently there's a lot of politics, not necessarily like political politics, but I'm talking like just kind of like similar type politic type situation. It's hard to explain in hospitals. You know, because you got the doctors, of course, like they get whatever they want, you know. You know, so somebody like a low level like me, like a security guard, you don't want to screw with them. So there was a doctor that I guess, you know, I came out doing my rounds one morning before getting off. It was like 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. shift. 7:30, 7:40, I was, you know, doing my last rounds before getting off. Figured, all right, I'm gonna go do patrol really quick. And there was a car that was parked. It was parked not even in a parking space, like just kind of parked in the traffic lane as people would pull into the hospital parking lot. Literally, you know, you can see where they were parked. It'd be like easily see, like, all right, they're gonna get hit. Like somebody's gonna pull in here and not see them and hit them. I didn't have the power to give a ticket, so I called the local police. I had them come up and I pointed out the car. I was like, what do you guys think? Like, we have to ticket him. Is that guy's parked illegally? Like, there's like somebody's gonna hit him. There's gonna be an accident, whatever. And I'm like, that's kind of what I thought. So you're the boss. I do what you gotta do. So they put a ticket on the car. I wrote up a report basically, and I took photos and I submitted everything, basically saying like this car is parked in an area that it's a danger to other vehicles. There's nothing. I was like, and I submitted it. And I submitted it to. We had a friend at the time named Eric that we had kind of given him. You know, he moved up to Iowa, and we kind of given him a place to stay for a couple months, even though, you know, one of those situations where you help a friend out, or he wasn't a friend of mine, but you know, you help somebody out. You know, oh, we'll pay you this much in rent. You know, okay, cool. You know, I was like, I didn't want to let him move in, but you know, my wife really wanted him to move in to help him out or whatever. And so we let him live there, and he offered to pay like $300 a month in rent, and then was there for a couple months. By like the third or fourth month, I think by the fourth month, he was only giving us partial payments. Like, here's $50 a year, here's $25, here's $50. I think he still owed about, I'm pretty sure by the time I kicked him out, because after about third or fourth month, I finally said, look, we got a week to move. I was having to approach him to ask him for rent. Like, dude, like, are you gonna pay rent? Like, you know, you're only paying $300, and we had a 4-bedroom house that we were renting and stuff for my parents. And so we had an extra room, and it was like, look, like, I didn't have to let you live in here. You offered to pay like $300 to, you know, per month to live here and stuff, and to help with groceries or whatever, and yet you really haven't done shit. So, but you know, I finally booted him out because I was like, look, I shouldn't have to approach you if you're the one that needed the place. You made the offer of this, so I don't like asking other people for help or money or whatever. So like, it was bugging me having to come to him. So, but you know, while he was living with me, I actually, because I'd been at that hospital in that position longer than the other guards because of the fact, like I said, the other guard up to quit, and I was there alone for like 3 months, working every shift, and then eventually they went to 24-hour coverage. So we had 3, you know, the usual 3 shifts, like first, second, third. So 8 a.m., like 8 to 4, 4 to 12, and like 12 to 8. And of course, I was like, I like to do in the night shift where less active, you know, as far as the hospital goes. It's basically just walking around doing patrols, you know, checking doors and whatever, versus having to deal with actual like people all the time. So I had opted to do the night shift, 12 o'clock to 8. And so when that happened, I actually got they brought on a morning guy from the 8 a.m. shifts. So I trained him. And then they, you know, I recommended our acquaintance, Eric, because he needed a job. And I basically said, hey, I know this guy, he came up from Texas, you know, had his own business, whatever. You know, pretty hard worker, I'm sure, you know, so they're like, yeah, we'll give him a chance. And they hired him. I trained him. He came in and started, he did the 4 o'clock to midnight shift. And did that for probably about 6 months of us, all the 3 of us working together. And then one thing that's interesting is they then were going to make one of us a supervisor over the rest. And, you know, morning guy, I think his name was Matt, but he was like, oh, you're totally going to be the supervisor because, like, you've been here, like, 2 years now, right? Like, yeah. You know, him and Eric had only been there, like, 6 months. You know, because when they switched to the 24-hour coverage, they brought both Matt and Eric on at the same, you know, roughly about the same time. And I trained both of them since I'd been there, pretty much. So, me and Matt thinking that I was shoo-in, right? You know, that, hey, I'd been there longer. You know, I trained both of them, so it makes sense. No, because Eric had like an NBA or an MBA or something. You know, and he had his own business, so of course they were like, well, he, like, obviously, like, we're gonna make him the supervisor, and I'm like, I was like, but I trained him, like, he's been here 1.5 years less than I have, so what the hell? I don't get it, you know. So he became our supervisor or whatever, and when the issue with the car happened, you know, I filled out the report, I submitted everything. And I even, like, this is back, you know, like, cell phones weren't fully smart by that point yet, you know, so, like, we had decent phones in 2000, this is, like, 2008, so, had an okay phone, but it was nowhere near what we have now. Like, now, obviously, you can send files, and pictures, and video, and whatever, but I sent pictures, and, you know, sent the reports, took a photo of the report with my phone, and sent it off to him, and then forwarded it to the Securitas office. And I clocked out and I went home. And about 9:30, before I could go to sleep, they were calling me from the Securitas office. They had a new HR person that started. Not somebody that actually had, you know, had experience with me throughout all those months that I was working by myself. So a guy that didn't really, I guess, didn't like me that much or something, I don't know. Because he called basically, yeah, I'm going to need you to come out here and talk to me about that. And I'm like, can I wait? Like, because you guys are like 1.5 hour drive for me. Like, I literally been up all night. Like, can I sleep? And come out? No, we need you to come out now. I need to talk to you now. Like, okay. And one thing that I should go back, that I should kind of let you guys know, when I gave that ticket, I had 2 thoughts. And this is one of those things that could be a topic on its own, but, you know, as far as the week, Real Talk Tuesday topic. But when I gave that ticket, or when I had the copy of that ticket, I had 2 thoughts that went through my head. I was like, you know, because there's cameras all around the hospital, so I thought either I kind of felt like I was shit out of luck, like I was screwed either way. Because I was like, either I have the cop give him this ticket, which I felt was the right thing to do. You know, like the guy was obviously parked illegally. There was like literally could have caused an accident, whatever. And but then, you know, being the politics of the hospital, that I'd probably get fired for that. Like they would throw a complaint and Securitas would let me go, or I don't. Like I walk away and act like I didn't see it, and then something happens. You know, the car gets hit or whatever. They look at the camera of the footage and see that I saw it, and then I walked away, and then terminate me for that. So I thought, if I'm possibly gonna get fired either way, I'd rather get fired for what I felt was the right thing to do. So I called the cops and I went through that what I did. So one sec, guys, one sec. Just grabbing a little bit of water. So when I got called by the HR manager demanding that I come out there, I was like, all right, I guess I'll see you in an hour and a half or whatever. I told the wife what was going on, and she's like, they wouldn't call you have you drive all the way out there just to fire you, would they? I'm like, watch. I'm like, I bet you. I was like, I have a feeling that I'm driving out there to get fired. So literally, I get out there, and the guy escorts me into his office, closes the door, and grab a seat. Okay. And he basically tells me that, well, unfortunately, like, you didn't follow protocol. And I'm like, sir, there was no protocol like that. It had never happened before. You know, and I did the best with what I had, like, you know. And he's like, yeah, well, unfortunately, and you never notified your supervisor. And I'm like, yes, I did. I forwarded my stuff to him. He goes, well, I talked to Eric, and he said you never, like, communicated with him. You never let him know. I said, I did. I forwarded everything to him. Said, well, regardless, you didn't follow protocol, so unfortunately, we have to let you go. I was like, okay. He said, but, you know, and you can't work again through Securitas through this office, but you can work through Securitas out of another branch. I said, okay. You know. And then he didn't want me to go out through the main lobby. He wanted me to just be a little back door in his office. He goes, I need you to go out this door for me. I'm like, why? Do you think I'm going to go out at the main lobby area and cause a scene? Because I was like, okay, yeah, that's interesting. So I was like, all right, fine, whatever, you know. So I walked out the door, and I drove all the way back, and I deliberately went straight to the unemployment office. And the funny thing was, the unemployment office, when I went in there to fill everything out, they tried to get Securitas on the phone, get that guy on the phone, and he wouldn't take the call. So unemployment was approved, like, pretty much right away. So within probably within 2 weeks, I was getting, and the funny thing was, I was making $50 more a week on unemployment, and, you know, and I was when I was doing my job. And this kind of leads into the trucking thing, because literally from that, I was collecting unemployment every week, but I was still putting in applications, doing what I had to do, and yet, you know, get interviews and whatever. Like, the problem with being unemployed and stuff like that, even though you're doing what you got to do, is that the longer you're unemployed, the harder it is to actually get hired somewhere, because jobs are like, well, you have this 6-month gap, like what happened, like, where are you going? I was like, oh, well, I got laid off over here. I've been on unemployment since then, and I've been interviewing in places, but I haven't been able to get in there. And people, all right, cool, we'll let you know. We'll get back with you. So eventually, you know, of course, we ended up moving out to Philly, and then, you know, again, applying places, getting interviews, but not really getting hired. And eventually it led me to, well, maybe I should, because I mean, I've always been a driver, so I was like, maybe I should go into trucking, because I know that they're always looking for drivers, whatever. So that's kind of what led me to the field. So that leads me back, you know, and when telling you guys the story of all the stuff that happened in Iowa, I didn't think that would lead me into, you know, to be able to talk about the current topic. So I wrapped that up and carried that in and merged that in better than I thought I was gonna. It's like when I'm sitting at the computer and I'm actually working on a writing project, and I don't know how everything's gonna come out until I finally finish, and I'm like, that actually came out pretty good. So after, basically after becoming a trucker and stuff, for the topic at hand, I know when I did last week's episode, I know it was gonna be like what's the percentage, or how high of a percentage of relationships that have somebody out over the road being a trucker, like how high of a percentage of those are relationships or marriages where your spouse that's at home actually ends up cheating on you because you're not there, But so I changed a little bit this week, or changed a little bit for this one, because I kind of was trying, here's something interesting about that. And the reason why I talked about, like, as far as like spouses cheating on their partners that are over the road out there basically supporting their family driving trucks, is I've read so many, like, people, like drivers that'll post or whatever, talking about like, yeah, my cheating wife at home, whatever, the husband's out there over the road, trucking, supporting the fam, whatever. A lot of us, yeah, we love what we do. The majority of us, we're good at it. We love to do it. But for me personally, I never did it with the intent to deliberately be away from the fam all that time. I didn't love that part. But I know the consensus between my wife and her friend was that, well, he just wanted to be away from home because he's afraid of you or something. I'm like, no, like, I felt like you only cared about money for the most part, so that's why I did what I did, because I know that things are better between us if we're not struggling financially versus if I'm home and working like in Publix, making $300 a week, and we're living without electricity because we can't pay the bill. Then yeah, I'm home, so I'm there helping you with stuff as much as I can. But then we're broke, so things are still, tense. They're still really like stressful at home. So it's like kind of like a no-win situation. They're like, you either go away to make enough to make her happy, or you're home trying to make her happy by being there, but then you're broke because you're not making enough. So, but so one thing I found interesting when it came to, because I kind of thought, well, I'm going to do a quick like Google search a little bit when it comes to this topic. So I randomly tried to Google, and you guys can try to do it too, and feel free to, when you hear this episode, if you find other stuff, because I was only able to do a quick search before recording, but I looked at a couple of different, when you do a Google search and it has, like, it'll give you the main answer, and then you'll have other little questions. You can hit the little drop-down menu and see what the information on that is. Like, it'll ask a different question or similar question but worded differently or whatever. So you can find some information really quick that way, which is pretty cool. I love the Google searches. But I tried to search it up. I basically said, like, what's the percentage of spouses that cheat on their trucking partners? And I guess it's more common, or maybe it's equally as common, for truck drivers that are over the road to cheat on their spouses that are back at home, which makes sense, I guess, when you think about it, because of, like, there's lot lizards, that approach the truck and say, hey, I really need to get over here to this place, or I'm trying to, like, I need money for this, and I'll come in there, and we'll do it all, we'll get busy, all positions. It's like, oh, okay. So I understand that, but one of the interesting facts that came up on the Google searches was that the percentage of, like, relationships that end up pretty much a divorce because of like truckers being away from home and causing strain in the relationship, 40%. I was like, really? Wow, okay. But that's the opposite side of what happened to me, because I didn't cheat on my wife. I had opportunity, but I literally would go away and do what I gotta do and miss her like crazy, want her like crazy, and basically look forward to getting home. And it was never like I had hoped when I got home. But you get ready to come home after 2 weeks, basically kind of joke around with her that I want to basically keep her in the bedroom for the full 2 days. But I knew that wasn't gonna happen because we got kids, a grandkid or whatever, But so. But it's funny because I was surprised I didn't find any results as far as what I was specifically asking. I'm sure if I took a little bit more time and did a little bit more digging, maybe I'd find stuff about like the spouses at home that cheat on the trucker versus everything that came up was basically about like what's the percentage of truckers that cheat on their spouses at home, and I'm like, that's not what I'm asking. So, but you know, I'm pretty sure the percentage is just as high because I know there's a lot of us out here that are literally faithful to our other halves at home. You know, it's like we're out here doing what we gotta do, and then we get home and hell, I've known a couple of trucker couples. One of them, God rest her, I believe she's passed since it's been quite a few years. I don't know, I think she had cancer or whatever, but she was someone we were connected with, and she would literally post on Facebook about like, oh my god, like my husband's on his way, like he's on his way with his last load, and he's gonna be coming home, and so she'd be talking about like making sure that she'd have a whole stack of towels all nice and clean, and she was basically doing the maintenance, the personal maintenance, she was waxing and getting all nice, ready to go for when he comes home. Basically, they're gonna be in the bedroom doing whatever they gotta do, and so, but truckers like that where that they're not out here hooking up, and I'm like, yeah, well, like for me, I would be going to a customer. Like I always thought people joke about, like truckers probably have like an extra family out there on the road, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, when we'd have time, because like literally, you do your 600 to 700 miles a day or whatever. You deliver, maybe you pick up the next, and then you get parts. You do your 10 hours off, and then you basically get up and get ready to do it all over again the next day. I'm like, I wouldn't have time. Like, you literally have, the only way I can see somebody actually having somebody out here on the road is if that person is literally in the truck with them throughout the week. Like, they're living in the truck with you, and you stop for your 10-hour break, and then you're getting busy, when you're stopped. But it's like, that's not usually the case. Usually if a trucker has somebody else with him, like say, a guy, like a male driver has a female, like a lady with him, most likely it's either a girlfriend or a wife that's out here just, riding along with it because they're, it's just the two of them. So they basically both just live on the road. They go home back to their house every so often, and then, come back on the road. That makes sense. Of course, I wouldn't be able to get my wife to do it. She's already kind of flat out told me. I'm like, you know what? Like, we could both go out. Like, if we have an empty house, we could both go out on the road, and like, she'd be like, yeah, no, I'm good. Like, okay. If it were reversed, if she were driving and it was like, well, if we could just, live off of one income and not have basically like pack everything in storage, not have a rent payment or whatever, and just live in the truck and basically just let her save our money. I do it, but so that's one of the things that, like, when looking at like the percentage, I couldn't find anything, but I would imagine that there would be a pretty decent, a decently high percentage. Sorry if that was worded weird, but that's just what came in my mind. A decently high percentage of drivers out here that end up having basically a spouse at home that, ends up finding somebody else that they can hook up with while you're gone because you're not there. But sad part is, like, they would still expect that you be the best provider for your family, even though you share them with someone else, so it's like, so anyway, guys, but yeah, if you feel free to do a Google feel free to do a Google search and see if you guys find anything about that, because everything I found during the brief time I was searching basically was just basically mentioned truckers cheating on their husbands or wives or whatever while they were on the road, like cheating, the trucker out here on the road cheating and hooking up with people. And I'm like, I get it. I mean, because, you know, hell, I'm sure there's probably couples where the trucker cheats and the person at home sleeps around too. You know, but it's like, this is one of those things, like, I look back at my first marriage and I go, you know what, I don't know if, I don't even, like, maybe, who knows, maybe me and my ex might still, because we weren't really doing a whole lot anyway, like, she didn't want to, she wanted me when she wanted me, and and it was one of those, like, you know, how, like, hopefully, hopefully I don't try to request, you know, hey, can we have some alone time with her, because she would have basically, like, I don't know, it's hard to explain with my first wife, because, you know, I was, you know, being that I've always prayed and stuff, she kind of used my religion against me a little bit. Like, if I wanted her, she'd be like, what'd you think? What would you think? Jesus would think about that? I'm like, well, we're married, so I'm pretty sure, like, you'd be fine with it. But, so I had to wait for her to basically be the one to initiate, be like, I really want you, oh my god. Even if I was sick, you know, like, sick as a dog, can't really barely move. And then her wanting to initiate, I'm like, I don't think I can do it, like, I can barely move. She's like, well, I'm gonna go sleep on the couch. I'm like, no, come on, you know. You gotta really care for that person, your other half, when you're sick as a dog, and yet in order to keep them from sleeping on the couch because they feel like, well, you don't want me, I'm gonna go sleep on the couch. I'm like, no, come here, you know. You managed to get it done. I don't know how I did it, but it happened. And of course, right afterwards, I then collapse in the bed, fall right asleep. So, but I don't know, if I was a trucker when I was married to my ex, who knows, you know, it might have been because of going out, like being gone for a month and coming home, that maybe it would have been, we'd actually do stuff when I came home, because I wouldn't actually be there for a while, so I'd come home and I want you, but we never got to that. I didn't truck drive when I was with my ex. Yeah, it's funny, you got somebody that keeps, got a truck that I'm technically trying to pass, but I got cars passing me quite a bit, so it's like, he's going slow and I can't pass him. And the way these, like the current truck, I could be like 300 or 400 feet behind him, and it's like, you're too close. I'm like, I'm not even going 60. So, but, you know, who knows? Like, there's a lot of what ifs. When you look back and you go, what if this, what if that? Like, I wonder if this changed, if this is different. I wonder if that was different. Like, would things have been different over here? Would things have been different over there? Ooh, I got a gap. Now I'm going to try to get over and pass this box truck that I've been trying to get by for the past couple miles. I'll get behind the line of cars and slowly pass them. Ooh, somebody just cut them off, man. It's always interesting to see a car barely pass another car. And then they, you know, barely get past them and they cut them off. It's like, really? Like, you couldn't wait to get, like, you know, actually get a couple car lengths in front and then get over, you know? I understand you're pissed off because they're going slow, but come on. It's even more interesting when they go off at the shoulder and pass people because they got two cars that are passing and they don't want to wait, so they get off at the shoulder and pass both cars and then get back over. I'm like, you totally just broke the law there. So, and like, when it's going off saying that I'm, you know, that you're too close and it does it long enough, then the camera goes, ding. I'm like, oh yeah, whatever. I'm like, I'm trying to not be too close, but I'm trying to get by this car too. So, but, so sorry for the little rambles throughout this episode, guys, you know. But hey, it's real talk, so I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. But yeah, so feel free to let me know if you guys come up with, if there's actually a percentage anywhere that it shows on Google as far as, like, not necessarily the truck drivers cheating on their wives or their spouses while they're out on the road, but the percentage of the spouses that are at home that end up straying on the other spouses that are actually out on the road trying to provide stuff. Because I'm curious, you know, and if I can find more information, maybe I'll do a follow-up episode to kind of let you guys know, you know. I try to do some research a little bit to kind of see if I can find anything so I can include it with this episode, and I couldn't find shit. So, but anyway, y'all. On that note, I think I'll go ahead and end it with that. But you know what I always say: keep pushing forward, keep believing. Believe you can, believe you will, and you're already halfway there. And then you just have to go out there and do it. You know, so. I appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome. You know, like, we gotta just keep doing what we can. Keep trying. You know, like, it's one of those things. Like, that's why I like I mentioned in the previous 2 episodes with like mental health and whatever, where I'm not a quitter. Like, I try not to. Like, I literally, there's been certain things that I like when I walked away from my ex. I didn't walk away intending to get a divorce. I walked away planning to join the Air Force, hoping to, you know, because I was miserable. We were not in a good place. I was hoping just to join the Air Force, get a good paying job, maybe or not really good paying, but, you know, a decent job, decent benefits, you know, decent health care, and maybe hopefully work on my marriage with my ex. And then, of course, she sprung the I want a divorce on us. So I was like, oh, okay. But it took a lot for me to get to that point where I felt like I had to walk away, even to just go join the Air Force, like not even walk away to get a divorce. But, you know, I left, moved in with my parents, was working on getting in shape every day, like going out, exercising every day, and trying to eat healthy and I lost like 20, 30 pounds in the course of like 2 months. And got literally enough weight loss where I was able to qualify to actually, you know, basically get processed and get sent off to basic training. So, but, it took a lot. Like my ex and I had gone through a lot at that point, and I hit a breaking point. It got to a point where like I left for a weekend for like 4 or 5 days to go to Seattle to go see my brother get married to his now ex-wife. Because again, he cheated on, you know, he said at the time of this recording, from what I heard from my parents, my brother cheated on his wife. Slept around, and basically there was no second chance. She basically said F you and divorced him. So I was like, wow. Okay, you know. So he's the only one of me and my brothers that have technically been divorced twice. Like the rest of us, we've been divorced once and remarried once, but he was married, divorced, and then got married to his last wife that was like a trophy wife. You know, it's like my mom's favorite of all the daughter-in-laws or whatever, and now she's no longer in the family because, you know, my brother cheated on her and she divorced him. So, oh well, he's like the one brother that, you know, for whatever reason, we haven't been, like, he just hates my guts, haven't been in contact for years or whatever, and I'm like, well, it's not my choice. He's the one that kicked me to the curb, so I was like, oh yeah, whatever, you know. So, but so anyway, on that note, guys, because I can ramble on for a while because I'm tired. You know, so on that note, I hope everybody has a great rest of your week. Obviously, like each week, I'm gonna keep it out there. I mean, you know, I'm seeing what I can do if I can get a, you know, that's why I'm making these real talk episodes. You know, I'm actually going ahead and putting an episode number with them, and I figure, well, if I do a couple of the real talk, but then I happen to get a Storytime Friday, maybe I just won't number those. Like, it'll just be Storytime Friday episodes, you know, or just call it Storytime Friday and have the title of the whatever the story is written. You know, because since I'm trying to get some writing done again, but you know, when it comes to your mental health and stuff, sometimes it's hard to keep doing what you gotta do. Anyway, you guys, I appreciate you guys. Feel free to, if you want to support the show, go to blogtheshow.com/support. Or just tell your friends, and, you know, give 5-star rating on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. Again, I appreciate any support you guys do, because of course I'm trying to slowly working on trying to get this podcast to grow and eventually, hopefully, you know, be home full-time, be full-time podcaster, full-time online entrepreneur, but work from home, all that fun stuff, be home with the fam. But I know that it's one of those things that's going to take a while and stuff. So I do my best to take it week by week and keep pushing forward, following basically lead by, or practice what I preach, which, it's as much for me as it is for you. When I say like keep pushing forward, keep believing, and like never quit, never give up. And it's hard to do. Sometimes the idea of walking away from something, especially when it's something like what we talked about last week with the the statute of limitations on if something really bad happened in your life, somebody did something really bad, is there like a time frame on you should be able to get over it by or whatever. So, but on that note, guys, I wish you guys all a really great rest of your week, and I look forward to talking to you guys on the next one. So keep pushing forward, doing what you gotta do, and I will talk to you on the next, at least the very, very minimum, at the next Real Talk Tuesday episode. On that note, you guys have a good one.